Press play to listen to this article by Annabelle Dixon. Send tips here. Subscribe for free. Listen to Playbook and view in your browser. Good Friday morning. This is Annabelle Dixon, Politico's politics and technology correspondent. Driving the day defeat still looms. Home Secretary Sajid Javid will open day 3 of the Brexit withdrawal deal debate this morning. As it nears its halfway point, there are few signs the tide has turned in favor of the Prime Minister's plan. "We're going to get smashed," a government insider told the BBC's Laura Kuenssberg, and they didn't mean the Friday night out kind of smashed. May is expected to hold meetings in Downing Street before heading to her constituency today. Red Brexit. With Tory and DUP opposition to the deal hardening, May is refocusing her efforts on winning Labour support for the plan. The Prime Minister spoke to Unite boss Len McCluskey and the GMB union leader Tim Roach last night. Other government ministers are testing the temperature with Labour MPs, including at least one member of the shadow cabinet, according to The Guardian. They want to know if stronger pledges on workers' rights could shift the dial in May's favour. Red threat. Intriguingly, a cabinet minister suggested to Fraser Nelson in The Telegraph that the pivot left could be an attempt to win back Brexiteers. "This is why it's mad for Brexiteers not to back her deal," Nelson quotes the minister saying. "I want to move to the left as little as possible, thank you very much," they add. Nelson himself is unconvinced that May's attempt to torture her MPs with doses of Corbynism until they can't take any more will work. She's expected to lose by more than 200 votes next week. Labour MP John Mann might be able to deliver, at most 20 Labour rebels. Nothing short of a mass defection, or abstention, will get her deal through. She would, in short, need Corbyn himself, Nelson writes. An unlikely prospect indeed. Not there yet. In his Times column, former speechwriter to Tony Blair Philip Collins does not think help for May is yet forthcoming from his kindred spirits. "So many of the MPs I would usually regard as the right people, the MPs I would tend to agree with most, sound determined to take the problem to the wire. They want a referendum and they want to reverse the verdict of the first," he writes. But he warns that if May's deal fails, it is hard to see a path where the decision is taken back to the people while a Tory Prime Minister is in no. 10. All is not lost. In better news for May, 2 Tory MPs who had been expected to vote against the deal, George Freeman and Trudy Harrison, said they would back it. Prime Minister of Japan Shinzo Abe also delivered his long-awaited intervention. He agreed with Business Secretary Greg Clark that a no-deal Brexit should be avoided. More sanguine, Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, who will close today's Brexit debate in the House of Commons, will be on the BBC Today programme this morning. Hunt has been striking a more Eurosceptic-friendly tone, asserting that while no deal would be bad, the UK would find a way to thrive. Also out and about today, in a speech in London today, Work and Pensions Secretary Amber Rudd will confirm that the unpopular 2-child limit on universal credit for kids who are more than 21 months old will be scrapped. She will also confirm that managed migration of claimants to universal credit will slow down. Raging, Rudd is among the cabinet ministers in the bad books of Downing Street Director of Comms Robbie Gibb, according to the Daily Mail. Simon Walters has been leaked a Gibb memo sent to special advisers in which he asserts that freelancing cabinet ministers had overshadowed the Prime Minister's big weekend NHS announcement. Gibb said the Downing Street media group had been deliberately starved out to give May's NHS plan the best coverage. But attention was diverted because of briefings and articles by ministers in Sunday papers. The Observer splashed on Rudd's plans for universal credit rethink on Sunday. Unlikely to help, Rudd said it was very difficult to tell if she would have joined the rebel backbenchers who inflicted 2 defeats on the government this week, when asked the question on Sky News last night. What can we expect in the world of finance in 2019? Find it out at Politico and Lichfi's Future of Finance Summit on February 21 in Paris, alongside Drive. Georg Kukis, State Secretary of Germany for Financial Market Policy and European Policy, Frédéric Oudéa, CEO of Société Générale, and Stephen Major, Chair of the European Securities and Markets Authority, among other great speakers. Book your ticket now, **** elsewhere in Brexit no deal warnings, UK. Police have advised retailers to consider hiring extra security guards in the event of no deal amid fears there could be crowd control issues at shops because of concerns about food shortages. Politico's Charlie Cooper had the scoop. The Metropolitan Police stressed it doesn't think there will be looting. Stockpiling, Tesco and Marks. They are stockpiling packet and tinned foods as part of preparations. The Guardian writes up the story here. Growth warning. The Guardian has another dire no-deal prediction from the Confederation of British Industry, which will warn that GDP will shrink by up to 8%, with thousands of jobs at risk if the UK crashes out of the EU. City says no. City AM leads on the overwhelming vote against a second Brexit referendum by the City of London Corporation councillors, which it describes as Square Mile's historic legislative body. Councillors voted 60-31 against a motion on whether it should support a referendum on the terms of Britain's exit from the EU. Whitehall redeployment. The Times has the figures for the number of civil servants who are being moved on to no-deal preparations. Oliver Wright reports that as many as 4,000 civil servants are abandoning their day jobs. He says they're being moved within weeks from 5 departments including education, justice and welfare. An official speaks. Brexit Central runs a piece from an anonymous civil servant who is not impressed by Theresa May's deal. The EU's triple lock guarantee is so constructed that never again will Brussels be troubled by an explosion of democracy in the United Kingdom, the official writes. Project Fear has been in overdrive since the withdrawal agreement was published, with spin, misrepresentation and blatant untruths deployed to sell it to a rightly suspicious nation, they add. Security fears. Several reporters got their hands on a letter from former MI6 chief Richard Dearlove and former head of the armed forces Charles Guthrie to local Conservative Party chairman attacking May's Brexit deal. Sky has a write-up. Former UK National Security Advisor Peter Ricketts is unimpressed. Burkow fallout. The fallout from Speaker John Burkow's decision to select an amendment which compels the government to say within 3 sitting days what it will do if, as expected, May's Brexit deal is voted down next Tuesday, continues. The Telegraph's Christopher Hope says that in revenge, Tory MPs have tabled motions demanding Burkow face a pay cut and lose some of his pension. In a new column for The Sun, Quentin Letts likens Burkow's actions to a judge overseeing the trial of one of his golf club cronies, suddenly ripping up legal convention to give the defense a deadly advantage. Not so significant. Business Insider's Adam Binkov says MPs have not quite taken back control of the Brexit process. He has a nice explainer. Parliamentary procedure experts suggest the amendment essentially leaves the original timetabling procedure for any second, meaningful vote on the Brexit deal untouched. Life beyond Brexit. Parliament sits at 9:30 a.m. today. Liberal Democrat MP Layla Moran has an adjournment debate on the route of the Oxford-Cambridge Expressway when the Brexit debate is finished. Figures on trade and monthly GDP growth in November 2018 to be published by the ONS at 9:30 a.m. Home Office. The think tank Civitas has issued a report claiming that more than 50,000 failed asylum seekers have stayed in Britain because the Home Office is failing to remove migrants whose applications fail. They are thought to be working in the black economy and have disappeared from the Home Office radar, The Times writes. Whitehall rejig. Latest. Former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson is the latest MP to offer his suggestions for civil service reform. He thinks the International Development Department should be rolled back into the FCO. The present system is leading to inevitable waste as money is shoved out of the door in order to meet the 0.7% target, Johnson says. It is part of a long read by the FT's Sebastian Payne, who spoke to 8 past and present foreign secretaries about Britain's post-Brexit future. Twitter was loving Fiona Bruce's debut in the BBC Question Time chair last night. Tim Montgomery thinks Bruce could save the show. Talking of the BBC, in case you missed it, lovely story from BuzzFeed, which says it understands that BBC reporters have been told to stop saying that BBC understands because it makes them sound slightly pompous. ***, welcome to Brussels, Romania. It may only have been a week since Romania took over the rotating presidency at the Council of the EU, but Bucharest has a full agenda to power through ahead of the EU election in May. Watch Politico's Coffee Break live at 10 a.m. on Facebook to tell us what you think about this action-packed week. Our reporters Kate Bolingaro and Philip Calita will also delve into the Italian-Polish populist tango for the EU election and Franco-German divide over the planned EU army. ***, Media Round Today program, Work and Pensions Secretary Amber Rudd, 7:10 a.m., Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, TBC. Talk Radio, Tory MP Peter Bone, 7:06 a.m., Tony Blair spokesman Alastair Campbell, 8:06 a.m., Peter Credlin, ex-chief of staff to former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott, 8:33 a.m., Ed Davies, policy director at the Centre for Social Justice, 8:45 a.m., Shankar Singham, international trade expert and lead author of Plan A Plus and A Better Deal, 9 a.m., Neil Anderson, executive director of Migration Watch UK. 9:15 a.m. All Out Politics, Sky News, Rachel McLean, Conservative MP for Redditch, Rupta Huq, Labour MP for Ealing Central and Acton, 9 a.m., Carol Walker, broadcaster and political commentator, George Eaton, deputy editor of The New Statesman, 9:15 a.m., Andrew Cann, former chief executive of UK Trade. Politics Live, BBC 2, 12:15 p.m. In Novara Media's Ash Sarkar. The Guardian's Anushka Asthana, LBC's Ian Dale, journalist Toby Young, musician and actor Jarvis Cocker. Nick Ferrari at breakfast, LBC Radio, Nicky Morgan, chairwoman of the Treasury Select Committee, 7:25 a.m., Labour MP Frank Field, 7:50 a.m., David Laws, executive chairman of the Education Policy Institute, EPI, 8:20 a.m., Sam Everington, chair of the London Clinical Commissioning Council and GP, 8:50 a.m. Any questions? BBC Radio 4, 8 p.m., broadcasting from Hempfield Hall in West Sussex with Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott, Housing Secretary James Brokenshire, former editor of The Spectator Dominic Lawson and Christian Aid Chief Executive Amanda Mukwashi. Reviewing the papers tonight, BBC News, 10:45 p.m. Today's front pages, click on the publication's name to see its front page. City AM, City warns against fresh Brexit vote. Daily Express, finally, someone tells it like it is. Daily Mail, PM orders speedboat killer, give yourself up. Daily Mirror, cheat for us. Metro, May and Brexit phone plea to unions. The Daily Telegraph, trans row as men get access to women's NHS wards. The Guardian, blow to the low-carb diet. The Independent, May begs unions to help salvage her Brexit deal. The Sun, not online, Amazon slime. The Times, May calls on union chiefs in bid to save Brexit deal. Today's news mags The Economist, Red Moon Rising. Thank Pod It's Friday Choppers Brexit Podcast, Nicky Morgan, former Education Secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, a Brexit Minister, Suella Braverman, a former Brexit Minister, Camilla Tominey, The Telegraph's Associate Editor. EU Confidential, Ryan Heath talks to David Hyman, General Counsel at Netflix, about how the company has changed since he started, back when it was a mail-order DVD rental service. The Political Party, Labour MP Jess Phillips and Tory MP Sarah Wollaston. Spectator Radio, former Tory MP Peter Lilly and Politics.co, UK's Ian Dunt on a no-deal Brexit and Foreign Affairs Select Committee Chairman Tom Degentot, and King's College London Professor Kerry Brown on whether China is a bigger threat than Russia. Commons People, Paul Waugh is joined by former number 10 advisor Nikki Da Costa and UK. In it, changing Europe's Anand Menon. Beyond the M25 from Manchester sacked, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham's Assistant Director of News and Media, Paul Gilfeather, has been sacked after failing to declare drugs charges, according to the Manchester Evening News. Your Weekend in Politics Sunday shows look ahead. Brexit Secretary Stephen Barclay will be on the Andrew Marr Show. London calling Westminster weather, it's going to be very cloudy but remaining dry, with a gentle breeze. Eyes of 8C. In the cinema, The Frontrunner, a biographical drama about American Democratic politician Gary Hart. The Telegraph gives it 3 stars. Lobby signing. Daily Mail Online has signed another Press Association stalwart. David Wilcock, currently Press Association's political correspondent, will join James Tapsfield and Tim Sculthorpe on the team. Lobbyist signing, former No. 10 Director of Legislative Affairs turned late-night Twitter legislation guru Nikki Da Costa is set to join Sisor Group, subject to Cabinet Office approval. Public Affairs News got the scoop. Happy birthday to Chris Bryant, Labour MP, Matteo Renzi, former Prime Minister of Italy, Rachel Riley, Countdown presenter, Arthur Scargill, trade unionist. And celebrating this weekend, Jeff Bezos, Amazon chief executive and founder, Caroline Ansell, former Conservative MP for Eastbourne, Fiona Caldicott, National Data Guardian for Health and Care, Tom Bradby, chief anchor at ITV News at 10, Stephen Glover, former editor of The Independent on Sunday, Lib Dem peer Sally Hamwee. Playbook couldn't happen without my editors Oya Sheftalovich and our producer Jeanette Mins. Subscribe to the Politico newsletter family. Brussels Playbook, London Playbook, EU Confidential, Sunday Crunch, EU Influence, DC Playbook, all our Politico pro-policy morning newsletters.